This is going to be a problem. Whenever the phone rings, I get bounced out of the video. I don't know why. That happened to be a freaking telemarketer. Anyway, back to, you just have to know that a long time ago, 10,000 years ago, we had the Neolithic Revolution and everybody farmed. Right up until 1750, 95% of the world were farmers. And so only in this next 250 years are people rapidly no longer going to be farmers anymore. This is the way it looked. This is before we had any kind of technology. People had horses and wagons and were just out working the land for hundreds of years, thousands of years. This is what it looked like. And so we can do this. The northern companies came down and got all of those products from the deep south, the raw materials and the resources, but then they took it back to the north to manufacture it. As you know, some of the major manufacturing cities, Pittsburgh and Chicago and New York City, they all manufactured what they got from the south. Okay, America moves to the cities. So there's a few things that you have to write down. One of the most significant things you have to make sure you write down is the Great Migration. About 40 million people, freedmen, African Americans, moved from the deep south to the north to go take manufacturing jobs and to leave sharecropping. Sharecropping is basically slavery by another name. However, most of the people that were sharecroppers were white people because the majority of the people in the south were white because only 13% of the population was black. So all people in the south were basically sharecroppers, but there were a lot of people in the south that were also white, but were also sharecroppers. If you've ever read the book Old Yeller, that tells about that sharecropping. Everybody moved to cities. It's called the Great Migration, and the freedmen and the former young people that were maybe never slaves were like, no, I'm not doing this, and they moved to the north. The older people mostly just stayed because that's all they've ever known. You also have to know immigration. Between 1890 and 1910, 1890 and 1910, we have lots and lots of immigrants coming in. You have to know in the 1850s, the immigrants came from like Scandinavia or Germany or Britain. The Irish came because of the potato famine. And so like 20 million Irish came, or no, not 2 million Irish came. A lot of people came in the 1850s. In the 1890s and 1910, Jews from southeastern Europe, or from Eastern Europe, and then Italians from Southern Europe came, and they were hated and despised because they were Jewish and or Catholic, which was not Protestant like most of the people in America. So they were also despised. And I think I've told you before, the Irish, it said NENA, no Irish need apply. So immigration and the Great Migration filled factories with lots and lots of laborers. And here's the kicker, is that white people that made more resented it because they could pay immigrants and the freedmen way less money than they paid the other laborers. And so a lot of people lost their jobs to people that would work for way less, and it created a lot of strife. Cities. People are moving to the cities. Okay, this is just crazy. Look at this picture. It's insane. So we have electricity, there's cable cars, but there's not, you see even some bicycles, which were actually in the 1890s, a famous new thing. Horses and carriages, I was telling them about that there were tons of manure, literally tons of manure, millions of tons of manure in New York City because of all of the horses. But this is crazy. Look at that. Look at all of this. It's just unbelievable. In big cities, they tripled. Some of them tripled. Okay, so urbanization was a force powerfully remaking America's political, economic, and cultural makeup. All of those immigrants brought their own different cultures. It changed politics, people that were Republican, pro-business, versus people that were not pro-business and that were laborers, which would have been Democratic. And the economy changed dramatically with industrialization. Again, so immigration, literally people were coming here by the boatloads. They actually even had advertisements that said, come to America, we need you. So we invited lots of people to come. Look at these big cities. Some of these big cities, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles. Look what percent increase. How much? 21,000% increase. So big cities became manufacturing hubs, and immigrants and people all went flocking there to work. By the late 19th century, a nation of rural farmers was becoming a nation of factory workers living in cities. And then also today, This is crazy. 1.3% of Americans, that's it. Most of America is agribusiness. There's not really very many farms. Some of you know farmers here in rural Shackle Island, but there's not very many farmers left. It's all agribusiness, and then apparently 2.6 million people that are trying to struggle to be farmers, family farmers, like we've always had, and it's not an easy life. Okay, and as you know, two things were significant for us to create skyscrapers, and so they started having these skyscrapers in the big cities. This is a famous one. It's called the Flatiron Building. I want to make sure that you know that every time you see this picture, that you know that's called the Flatiron Building. It was built in 1902 in New York City, and today, if you stayed or lived in that place, it's really, really, really expensive. It costs you a ton of money to live in that. So skyscrapers happen. They happen for two reasons. They happen because we have brakes for the elevators, Otis equals elevators, O-T-I-S, and also because we have steel that is lighter and stronger to be able to create skyscrapers. From the 1890s on, we start building skyscrapers, and a lot of it is because of having an elevator that you won't die in, and then also having steel. And then this I thought was just a really cool picture of what it looks like below all of these skyscrapers. It's unbelievable. Okay, and then other big, famous, important buildings that were created around the turn of the 20th century. There it is, Flatiron Building and the architect. Okay.